There's 6 of us authors here, and yeah, I guess the first thing we'll do is each of us go around and introduce ourselves. I'm happy to start that if you like. So my name is Stephen Raymakers, and I am the author of 5 books so far, the Aria of Steel trilogy and the Scars of Magic books, these ones here. So I did my own covers in Photoshop. Luckily, I've got a degree in graphic design, so it kind of helps out there.
They look
and good. Yeah, it's kind of just dark fantasy, touch of horror, and a lot of emotions, a lot of action.
Very good.
We'll go over to you, Darren.
Okay. So I'm kind of a sci-fi fantasy author. So I write a lot of my books in, with both sci-fi and fantasy aspects to the genre. It's kind of like the characters in the books are in this really old, broken, futuristic world, and they don't know how to use the technology. They've got like a medieval understanding of the tech. So a lot of them are worshipping the tech. Some of them are trying to destroy it because they think it led to the downfall of the ancients. So it makes for a very interesting combination where they're fighting like pitched battles across the world and, trying to keep their different dominions safe. But, doing that with bows and arrows and swords that they forged and stuff like that amidst like some high-tech ruins, right? So I wrote The Engineer and Dark Heart of Redemption are my first full novels. And then I have my third book that I just came out with was Artifacts and Enigmas, which is a collection of mysteries, short stories in that universe that are like tech mysteries. So it was a lot of fun to write.
That's what's behind him.
Yes.
Yeah. Are those like the Sherlock Holmes ones that you were talking about before?
What's that?
Are those like the ones that you compared to Sherlock Holmes before? Is that
right? Yes. Yeah. So I've got Aethelgard here is like my Sherlock Holmes character detective. He's a night investigator that works out of Pyramid, and he solves crimes that take place in Pyramid. And then he pulls Actaeon in, who's the main character from my main novels. And Actaeon's an engineer and helps him figure out the tech mysteries, the tech aspect of it. So they're both like masters. I guess like Sherlock Holmes was the master, and then Watson was his observer. So with these two, it's kind of fun because they're both kind of a master in their trade. And they observe each other, and they're like, how did you do that? So it's a lot of fun. And then they gradually learn from each other.
Yeah.
Nice.
Who's next?
E.L. Lyons. I've never actually heard your first name, so if you want to introduce yourself, that's fine.
It's just L. I made it into initials, so I would look more like an author. That's what I go by in real life is just EL. It's really easy to write because my handwriting sucks so bad, so it's simpler. So I've got 2 published books. You have to read them in order. There's Starlight Jewel, and then there's Ostranger's Wrath. They're like dark epic fantasy with a side plot romance. There's a lot of tree stuff in them. It's dark, but it's not like the sort of grim dark where there's like violence on every page. It's only dark if you think about it, and so that's my books.
Just don't think about it when you're reading it.
Exactly. If you don't think about it, it's fine. It's actually like a really happy, fun series.
I actually thought I read the first one so far. I thought it was very fun to read.
I agree.
It is. I've just finished. I finished the second one last month, I think.
Nothing bad happens in that.
Oh no, nothing at all.
It's a fun time. They go on vacation, and they meet a lot of dogs and dog-like creatures.
And Cletus.
It's a good time. Just don't think about anything, and it's a blast.
That's very intriguing. I actually have to pick up a copy now.
They're great.
And next on the list is Kay Agard.
So Agard, or I think it's Ogard in the original language. So I am. This is my book. The Hunter of Far Eldon is the series. Book 1 is The Hunter. Almost done with book 2. It's a epic fantasy written in third-person omniscient, and it actually starts where a lot of stories end. he's actually already gotten his revenge, the main character, and he no longer really has a purpose in life. And it kind of explores what does he do now, and follows him as he kind of gets peer pressured by his wolf into helping a kidnapped noble girl get home. And chaos kind of ensues from there as he tries to get her back home and also teach her how to survive. So
I love the third Omni. I write in third Omni too.
Same.
it's fun. I don't see very many books like that anymore, so I enjoy writing in it.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, that's the way they used to be, right? All the books we read when we were younger were third Omni.
Yeah.
And then it got really into like POV and specific characters' heads, and one chapter was one character and the next chapter was another.
Yep.
I would always recommend.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I would always recommend debuts like not write third Omni, because I've seen so many people do it and then they just end up head hopping like badly. But The Hunter was actually amazing. Like when I realized that it was third Omni, I was like, oh, it's third Omni, and I haven't noticed for like, however many pages until now and that's how it should be. You shouldn't notice. If you notice right away, then there's probably something wrong. But it was such a fun book.
Yeah, I think the drawback a lot of authors have is when they're writing in third Omni, but they've read a lot of the close-in POV books recently, and that's all they're reading, and they're trying for third Omni. It doesn't work.
Yeah. I said same, but I don't. I write third limited. I was just thinking the third part.
Wait a second. What are they talking
about? So over to you, Trinity.
I wrote the Guardians. The Guardians of the Well of Firestone trilogy, and they're Bloodbound, Unbound, and Inherent Bound. I have them here, but they're apparently taking up half the screen. So. It's basically like the trilogy is about a stone which indwells the life of a country, is the source of magic in the land, and a guardian must be appointed to protect it from falling into the wrong hands. And each book is a different guardian, so they each have their own plot, like that is intended to work well as standalone. So you don't you don't have to read them in order. So yeah, that's where that's at right now.
Nice. And then last but not least, Pete.
Thank you very much. So, Peter J. Alden. I think it's I just released my 19th book on Kickstarter. So I'm not going to try and do all of them, but I started all of them. Yeah, exactly. Started 10 years ago with post-apocalyptic. So this is zombie apocalypse in Tasmania. Perfect place on Earth for that to happen. Quickly realized it was probably not my jam, even though I think that's the best thing I've written. But I'd always wanted to write space opera. So this and a couple of others were published during COVID. Coincidentally, because I'd been working on them for years, they were all built around a global pandemic that destroyed society. So it seemed the perfect time to kind of finish them off and release them all. And more recently, went to my other love, which you all share, which is epic fantasy. I'm very much and unfortunately, like a lot of you have done your own covers, or you've bullied, as someone said earlier, their friends into doing them for them. This was a Jeff Brown cover, so I was very, very grateful to Jeff for the time and the effort he put into that. I'm very much a tight third person or first person writer, so there's not much omniscience going on in my books, mainly because I don't know what the hell I'm doing either. So, so that's me.
Nice. Well, good to meet you all. I've seen, obviously in the Discord, we've had lots of good chats and a lot of memes and everything. So it's good to see that. So I'll start us off with a pretty easy topic. The best writing advice that you've ever received. And I'm happy to start that off with, there's a lot of books that you can read about writing. On Writing by Stephen King is obviously a great one to start with. It's very casual in how it approaches the topic. It's not a textbook. But the main thing, the best advice I've seen is read outside of the genre you want to write in. So obviously if you're writing fantasy, you love fantasy books. But I find myself reading a lot of sci-fi books, a lot of historical books, kind of literary books and stuff like that. And all of it kind of builds up your internal database, so to speak, of information that you can draw from and things that you can learn about different styles, about different sentence structure and stuff like that. So I'll just open up the floor. Whoever has great advice, go ahead.
I think one I heard early on was write what you know, which sounds a little, kind of, well, I'm an engineer, so write about engineers, or I'm a firefighter, write about firefighters. But I think it goes beyond that. Like, I've seen a lot of scenes that I've written. If I pull like the feelings almost from some of those experiences that I've had in my real life, I find that the scenes end up being more compelling. For instance, different traumatic scenes that I've seen as a firefighter in my real life, and bringing that type of feeling into battles and traumatic scenes in the books, I think helps enhance them. Things like that, not being afraid to do that. So not just copy paste what happened in my life and put it in the book, but just use your experience to help craft the scene.
Yeah, people often
Absolutely.
criticize that advice, but I've read so many books where it's like people write something that they don't know, and they also don't ask somebody who does know. And
Yeah.
there was one in one of the SBFBOs, like the culling ones that I did, where like the main character was a police officer, and I'm not even a police officer. I'm just addicted to watching those body cam footage things at night. I just get stuck for hours just watching police body cam footage. Like, I
Same.
and just reading like this POV of a cop written by what I can only imagine was like, a 19-year-old woman who did not do any research and did not ask anyone what cops do regularly, how laws work, how anything. It was interesting. So if you want to write what you don't know, you should at least find somebody who does know.
Get to the point where you know it. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Even Stephen King has friends in the police and in law and stuff that he talks to about all of those aspects, because he doesn't know any of that. And so it's always good to go and do your research and make sure you're at least getting close to the truth there.
I feel like oh, go ahead. On the like writing what you know, it also like refers to your like you were saying, how you pull from your emotional, like your experiences emotionally and how you deal with certain things. And like everybody's experienced, trauma, grief, all the things that we draw from in our stories. So even if you like are not as familiar, obviously, like if you're writing about a police character, like do your research and know what you're talking about. But like I'm writing about a lumberjack right now, and it's like I don't know anything about lumberjacks, but I'm like researching what I can. And he's also like, he's a vet, he's a military guy, and I'm like, I don't know anything about that either. But he's a grieving man who's experienced trauma, like, and I can pull from that at least in the like emotional aspect. Do my research on the other part and find readers who know their stuff, so I can validate what like what's written as far as making sure it's accurate, but emotionally too, like writing from from emotional experience, and how would you react to this situation because you know what it feels like. I
think a lot of times too, authors like won't take that into account. They'll just write some crazy scene where a character dies and be like, I killed the character, and then the other characters don't talk about it again, or don't like.
Yeah.
It's like what happened to that?
Yeah. And a good example of it done well, of course, is stuff like Lord of the Rings, where Boromir's death, it has ricocheting effects throughout the books, not just on a political level, but also on a very personal level for a lot of the characters. And that's not even a writer who really looks at the introspective kind of parts of characters. He kind of glosses over that, but it does have an effect. And yeah, it's a good example of that.
I was going to make the same point as Trinity, actually, but maybe extended into things like writing villains or more antagonist kind of characters that sometimes you can kind of dig into your own dark side a little bit, but also your own motivations that make sense for why you did things that were a little bit outside of your own moral, off your moral compass. So I had a review of one book that was a 4-star review, but the reviewer said, I was really angry at this author because they made me understand the villain. And I was like, mission accomplished.
You did your job.
Yeah, he does a lot of really bad things, and you can see him kind of crucifying his conscience at this point, and then again at that point. But he has his rationale. He has a reason that you kind of go, maybe if I was in that situation, I might be tempted to go down the same path as he does. So yeah. It's good advice.
That's a good review, by the way. It makes when you see
That's an amazing review.
The review, right? Makes you want to read the book.
Yeah.
And I think one of the ways to do that, if you read biographies of people who were, I guess, questionable in history, which I love to do, I just love to see why, like, you know, you think, why did that historical person do that? Like, I'm sure they didn't just wake up one day and decide, I'm going to be the worst person that everyone hates in history. You know, they thought they were doing a good thing. And so, like, when you read these biographies, especially the ones that are, you know, more fair to, like, the time period and include, like, that person's own writings, like right now I'm reading Stonewall Jackson's biography, and like seeing how he wrote letters to his sister, how his sister ended up on the other side of the war, what he did before the war to try and avoid the countries going to war. Like, you really get into the mindset of how complex people's decision making really is, and how villain is kind of, you know, like
Relative.
Not exactly the right word for reality most of the time. Like, there certainly are villains. Like I said, I watch all that police body cam footage. They're usually not big enough fish to put in a book. You know, it's just that guy who's pretending to be like a loving dad who ends up, you know, killing his whole family. But that's not.
Well, there's the saying, every villain is a hero in their own story, you know, that no one looks at themselves. Oh, well, not no one, but the majority of people don't look at themselves as a villain. There are serial killers out there who have been very aware of what they're doing and the evil of it, and they just accept themselves as being like that.
Yeah, there's that one teenage girl. I don't know if the true crime people will know this one. There's a teenage girl who like had her boyfriend kill her whole family. And like they've done interviews with her, and she's just like, yeah, like he killed everybody. We burned the house down. It was fine. She has like zero feelings at all about it. She's obviously evil.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar. I don't remember who it is.
I like getting into that with the stories, the crimes that these guys have to solve. Not just have them solve the crime, but also hear about, well, why was it committed? And that's like a big part of the story. That was pretty interesting to write. And a lot of times the person that committed the crime, the culprit that they catch, really wasn't a bad person at all. They just happened to break a law, right?
Yeah.
The best writing advice I ever got was that the emotions that come out in the emotional scene start like 3 chapters before it. So Mark, my like writing mentor, like I had this scene in the beginning of my book, probably like, I don't know, chapter 5 or 6. And it seemed to me like it should be suspenseful. And I kept reading it over and over again and having like small mental breakdowns because it wasn't suspenseful at all. Like he's stuck in a maze. It's filling up with water. Like this should be stressful, and it just wasn't. And so like Mark explained to me that it was because the motivations and like what he cared about and things hadn't been well enough established yet to make it's suspenseful. There had to be stakes, and you can't set up the stakes right then in that scene, or else, you know, you can't fit everything into that scene. You need to set up the stakes and the motivations beforehand, and then by the time he gets there and he's in that situation, then it becomes more stressful.
That's like saying like, here's the scene. Oh yeah, and by the way, this is this. Why?
Doesn't work.
A perfect example of that, I think, is the Last of Us video game. At the start, it opens up with a father and his daughter on the sofa, just, you know, and you kind of see the bond of that family very quickly. And I think it takes maybe a minute or minute and a half. And then the next 5 minutes is just chaos, and all of that build up within that first scene is necessary, because otherwise we wouldn't really care about these characters. But we've seen them be close to each other and be sweet to each other, and suddenly that's all taken away, you know, in the first.
It's relatable. You're building relatable characters.
Yeah. It's funny, you can know that and still need to be told it and like be like, oh yeah, right, like I forgot. I like literally just got that advice on my story, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess
I've never heard it put like, but it's very clearly done. So that's really helpful.
Yeah.
I need to be told about transitions in between chapters every single time. for whatever reason, I just end them. They're done, and then I just start them in it, and like no transition at all. Like it could all just be one giant chapter. It actually was. I think the first like 15 chapters of my book were one chapter when I first wrote it.
Things, you just want things drilled into your head. Like, how come I can't remember this?
Yeah. All right, Trinity, what was yours?
Oh, I had it. Shoot. It was always just to like, for my own personal writing, it was about proactivity and avoiding the passive voice and just looking at that proactivity of the character and having them move towards a goal. And at the time that I had first started writing, I was in a little bit of a lull in my own life where I was not very proactive in my own life. I was just kind of like passing through life, existing. So the advice that was given in regard to my writing really actually helped me personally in my own life, because it helped me to actually realize, oh, hey, I'm not really doing anything about this situation in my life, and I probably should. So it was the best advice as far as writing, but it also pertained to my real life. I also love the advice to just keep writing, because there's so many distractions, especially once you've published, like in the marketing world and in the world building, and you get new ideas and you get excited, and it's like, just keep writing.
Keep going, and pick one project if you can't work on 3 projects at the same time.
Yeah,
because I can only write once a week, so I've been writing once a week for like over 10 years now, and some of my books took 5 or so years to write. So it's just finding that time to write and just making sure you do that regularly, or else it's never going to get done.
The focus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's mine anyway.
That's cool that it helped you motivate you in real life.
It really did. Yeah, I needed that. It was my editor was really like just on the ball, and she had no idea, right? She was just saying it. And I was like, I hear what you're saying. I feel like you're yelling at me, but like I know I need it.
Sorry, my chair is falling apart.
Any other good writing advice out there?
I think for me it was the advice that helped me finish stuff. So I started taking writing seriously at 40, which was 20 years ago, after already having tinkered with it for 25, 30 years from childhood. And it kind of quotes like Louis L'Amour has a quote that's something like, the water doesn't flow until the tap is turned on. And it's about that motivation of, you don't get motivation by sitting there waiting for it, or, playing Xbox or whatever, although sometimes Xbox does kind of work. That's what I tell myself anyway. But, nailing your butt to the chair and just doing words. And it might take 20 minutes, it might take 2 hours, it might not even happen that day, but it might happen the next day. Getting that flow happening. The other bit of advice, and I think I heard this around the time I was 40, and that's when I started writing this, was from Michael Stackpole, who was talking about, you'll learn more by writing 20 first draft chapters. I'm sort of messing up his quote, but writing the first draft of 20 chapters than by writing the same chapter 20 times. And that's exactly what I've been doing for about 15 years with that, was just writing the first 3 chapters over and over and over, and then leaving them for a year and coming back to them. So just getting a first draft done and giving yourself permission to make it absolute garbage, that's fine, because no one's ever going to see it, but at least you've got a concrete, complete thing you can start working on and polishing. So,
absolutely agree with that.
It kind of ties into like the advice that really helped me the most, was literally just, you can't edit an empty page. You just get the words and then you can polish it, and it doesn't matter if it's trash, flaming dumpster fire, you can take those and then build from there, but you can't edit an empty page. That's what helped me a lot.
I think along that line too is, editing your own work, especially if you're gonna hire an editor, fine, but for your first book, do the hard work and edit the book. And I did that for my first book and edited the whole thing, and it took a very long time. And I find now when I'm writing my books, I'm catching the things as I'm writing it, and it's just so much easier, in later writings.
I don't ever recommend anyone just relies on an editor. Like, if you give your first draft to an editor, for one, they're going to hate you. But also, they're not going to catch everything. You know, they even in TradPub, they catch 99% of errors. That's the standard. So if you have 100 errors in your book, they're going to leave one. There's going to be an error in your book when you publish. Yeah. So if you leave 1,000 errors, which, you know, the people who don't know their dialogue punctuation, you're leaving more than 1,000 errors. You're leaving like 5,000 errors. Then
every time someone speaks.
Yeah, literally. Like there's like 10 every page. And then you've got, like, by the end of it, you've got 100 errors that you're leaving in your book when you publish. And that's the only thing that editor can focus on, like or the proofreader. Like if you're only hiring one editor, you're not going through development.
They're not going to catch all the other things. They're just going to be.
Yeah, they're just going to be trying to make it like readable and like remotely professional. And they're not going to get to the nitty gritty stuff that they would be able to get to if you had actually gone through and edited it yourself first.
Yeah.
Are we referring to just like copy edit right now specifically? Because like when I sent my first draft of my manuscript to my editor for developmental editing, I had no idea the things to look for. So I would have been like, this is great either way.
Yeah, I've found that most indies don't do like all three, like developmental, copy editing, and proofreading. And so like it's like if you're gonna get one, like I don't even know. Jake, don't jump out the window. Anyway, if you're just gonna get one type of editor, I don't know. Like on your debut, I do kind of feel like a developmental editor will probably help you most improve for the future. But also, people are going to be really annoyed if you have just like tons of like grammatical errors and typos and stuff in there.
Yeah, for me, I put the book down if I see that. I get kicked out of the story whenever I see that.
I just message the author and and give them like 500 messages with their errors, and they always love that for sure. I'm super popular with everybody.
I did have a developmental editor and a copy editor, and you still are messaging me, and I'm just like, oh, seriously. I went over this also myself. Like, I read it out loud to myself too, and I still somehow didn't catch the.
It helps.
So I do appreciate it.
Authors too, so it's not just I think there was like one book that I read that didn't have any errors in it that I could find, and I don't even remember which one it was. It was like a year and a half ago. But everybody does.
Rare.
And my book had errors in it when I published, like a lot, like homophones.
That's a good point that Kay brings up too, though. Is and I told that my wife just finished her first draft of her novel, and she's been editing it. And I was like, you got to read it aloud. It sounds stupid. Just sit there in front of the computer and read it out loud, because you're like a different part of your brain is reading it out loud, and it will catch the error. And when you're reading it silently or typing,
your brain autocorrects.
It's the other half of your brain, and it is autocorrecting like crazy. So sometimes I find I'm reading aloud, and I hear something that I'm not seeing on the page, and then I'm like, wait a second, and it makes me go back and check that sentence, and it's almost always an error or the wrong word, because spell check won't catch a wrong word, right? If it's spelled correctly.
Yeah. If you read it to your cats, you can get extra judgment and prepare yourself for negative reviews, because they will hate it a lot.
Yeah, I had it printed out, and they kept trying to tear the pages while I was reading mine. So I'm just like, oh, thank you.
Highly critical.
I think it is good practice to read it out loud either way, because like it gets you like comfortable with it too. I don't know if you guys ever do like in-person events and do readings, but like definitely helps to read it out loud at home as like practice before you go and do it somewhere else in front of people.
Yeah. I've done it on videos too, and I actually just recorded the first story from this and I put it up on YouTube. So nice. It makes it a lot easier if you've practiced reading a few times.
Definitely. Yeah.
It also helps with dialogue. Like if you say it out loud, you're able to catch the clunky dialogue. You're like, that really doesn't actually hit the way I want it to. It doesn't sound right. Stuff like that. You can tell when it feels more natural versus forced. So
yeah,
I think too with dialogue, it also helps you catch some of the characterization. So there are writers who are very good at writing basically the same character with every character, especially when they speak. And then there are writers that you don't really need the dialogue tags on that page to know who's saying what, because they're so distinctive. And I often wonder whether they're the ones that read that dialogue out loud and catch that kind of, so they're almost voice acting their own.
They're at least hearing it in their head, right? Very clearly.
If you want to see good dialogue like that without the tags, read Cormac McCarthy. His rules for punctuation are out the window. So he'll just put the dialogue directly into the same prose that you're reading, but it all works and it all makes sense. And that's because he's crafted it so carefully so that you can understand exactly who's speaking and the tone they're speaking in and everything. So it's worth studying him, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say Mick Heron too with the slow horses behind me there. There was like a couple pages where I look back and I'm like, oh, actually there hasn't been any dialogue tag for like however long, and there's 5 characters in the room and I know exactly who's saying what for everyone. And it's like
Mick Heron's a genius at that.
Genius, for sure. I was like, oh, I want to write like that.
And like if you go in the other direction to Catch-22 by Joseph Heller, and it doesn't matter who's talking because the conversation is just utterly ridiculous. they're just going back and forth about some nonsense.
Yeah.
It's like, who even cares who's talking at this point? So he doesn't put dialogue tags in, and you know it's getting really zany when there's no dialogue tags.
Reading aloud for editing did not help me when recording my own audiobook. Like MK Baker ended up doing most of the narration and stuff after I had like 3 failed attempts to do everything by myself, which did not work. I can't do a man's voice. It sounded perfectly fine when I was editing out loud, like reading out loud for editing. But then when you actually have to like hear your voice back at you, it's horrible.
Let's hear it.
It's the worst thing. And then he even had to voice one of the Spriggan women for me because like I apparently just have no texture to my voice at all. I can't do anything with it.
I can't either. So.
The tags that I wrote are ridiculous. Like she growls things. Like no, she growled. Like I can't do that. I was trying very hard. And then you learn what words you can't say because like you write in like youths. And like that's a really hard word. So then you just got to edit that out before you publish the audiobook. And pretend like that word was never there. And then, yeah. I'm not going to try it again.
Youths, like children?
Yeah, like children.
Okay.
Yeah. That was never in my book, if anyone asks. Also, wolves. Like apparently I don't say the L in wolves. And like I tried really hard after somebody pointed it out. And I just made it sound worse. Like you just like I don't know how people are doing that and making it sound normal, but every time I try it, it doesn't sound right.
So you're not the person I'd want to be with if we encountered a wolf.
Right. Or many or
I'd be like, and I'd be like, what are you talking about?
There's only like 2 instances of wolves being mentioned, and it's not even like there are actual wolves there. It's like a banner or something that has a wolf on it. I had no idea I had all these speaking problems until I started trying to record my own dialogue and audiobook, and then it became apparent that I just don't know English. I've never
there are words that are difficult to say. Like there are like I find that there are certain words too that I come across and somebody says it and I'm like, wait. Then I try to say it and I'm like, I can't say it. I think reconnaissance. See, that's a word for me where it's like I can't say that word. I can write it.
It's even worse because then you start focusing on like how do I say it, and then it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
MK Baker was great though when he was recording everything, and like he would get to. I was terrible to work with. I didn't give him like a pronunciation guide or anything, but he assumed the best of my pronunciations every time. Like he just started pronouncing this guy's name Basil, as if I wasn't thinking about food. It was basil in my mind. Like I named a lot of things in my book after food because I was hungry while I was writing. But he said basil, and I was like, you know what, that's nice. We'll keep that.
Yeah.
It's
I think
really
that
good.
technically is the pronunciation of the name. At least
Oh,
this has been a conversation my husband and I have had. He's Irish, and he'll say basil and I'll say basil. But
I didn't know that was an actual name. I was just,
Yeah.
I love basil. It's
I only know it from Redwall, so
You also
think
need to
there
watch Faulty Tower.
Oh yes, yes.
Basil Fawlty is the main character.
Played by John Cleese.
there was also the Great Mouse Detective, the Sherlock Holmes mice,
Mm,
and there's
mm.
basil in that.
Well, that's
love
a blast from the past. I gotta look that up now.
I know. I'm like, I have all children references in my head, so because not because I have children, but because I am a child. So
So the next point is worst writing advice. I don't actually know too much bad writing advice. Most of it you can apply in some way. But the worst I've heard recently is just use AI to generate your story ideas.
Yeah.
Why would you take the best part of writing away from yourself? Don't do
Yeah,
that.
that's so sad.
yeah.
it really is.
I love every part of writing so much, even the parts that are really frustrating that make you want to throw your laptop. It's like fulfilling in a way that, like, once you finish the task, like, it's good for things to be hard and frustrating. So it's not like if the whole process was just easy, like it would feel like not any kind of accomplishment once you finished it. And so much happens during each part of the process. Like the brainstorming process, obviously, is like you get tons of ideas, but then during the editing process, you also change so much during that, drafting your first and second and third draft. And like just every part of it. Why would you want to outsource any of that and lose all the opportunities for your own voice and your own creativity to come through? And then when I see somebody else doing that, I'm like, okay, you just don't love writing as much as me. So why would I want to read your book? It's probably dumb.
Yeah, it's kind of a reflection on the writer, definitely, when you hear that type of thing. Well, you don't want to do this, so what makes your work worth reading then?
Yeah, and the collaboration and investment, I think, is also important to consider. Like the frustration of talking to your artist and trying to convince them to do what you want when they want to do what they want because they're your best friend and you don't actually have any sway over their actions.
Having a mental breakdown and putting googly eyes on your book. That was me drawing my cover.
Covers are frustrating. But yeah, like it involves every part of it. Just has like so many things that you're missing out on if like you don't do it yourself. Like if you use AI, you're just robbing yourself and you're robbing your readers. And like I've seen people give authors AI fan art, and I'm just like, that's like so sad. Like, like it's sad at first when you don't have fan art, like when nobody has done any fan art for your book. It's like, okay, maybe one day. But then once it does happen, it makes it all the more rewarding for like all the time you waited that maybe somebody might do that one day.
And then it's AI.
Yeah, and then it's AI. And that's
because when it's not AI and they've put in their own effort and their own creativity to do that, that's amazing. That's got to be the best feeling.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you get to see how like they interpreted the scene differently than like you did. And like, there's just so much about the community aspect that you lose with AI. It's really just a selfish like tool that does not involve the community at all, doesn't involve like collaboration or like even just thinking about other people. You're not even thinking about your readers when you use it, and that's just sad.
I would put money on most of those people don't even read their books.
Yeah, and you can tell they don't because they leave the prompts in.
Yeah. They didn't even read it because you see some of them have like 100 books out in 30 days. It's like you didn't even read it.
Yeah.
And then they try to leech off of authors. You know, like Tim's book Skyfold came out like you know, at the end of last year sometime. And then like an AI author published a book named Skyfold. So now when you Google Skyfold or you type it into Amazon, then this AI generated book comes up. And he published that in February. Like the AI guy published his in February. He's published 50 books since then.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
like you
They're
think
probably all rip-off names too.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
probably that
And
person's
rip off
thing.
covers. There's like a ghost story that, you know, takes place in Winchester Hospital. I imagine what that's inspired by. Like yeah, I hate AI, obviously.
For me, I
So
think one of
worst writing advice.
Yeah, so for me, I think the worst one I heard was very early when I was writing my first novel, and it was if you write this type of book, it has to be this length. There's no other choice. It has to be this length. And I really bristled at that because I feel like you don't want to put superfluous scenes in your book and just have them in there when they don't really pertain to the story or character building or something that the reader is going to get something out of. But some stories are different lengths, and you know your book really should be as long as it needs to be to tell the story. That whole word count thing came from trad publishing wanting to make money. So it doesn't really mean a lot from anything, but we think we could sell your book for this much, and based on the raw paper that's in the book, this is the word count limit that we have for you, so that we can continue to make enough margin on it. And so I remember I started writing in 2014, and I was trying to research a lot about I think Create Space was still fairly new. But I was looking into, should I go the trad publish route or should I go the indie route? And I just saw all these things on word count. And, I'd say write the story to the length that it needs to be to tell the story.
Yeah. On the similar note too, where it's like you get told, it's not like it's bad advice necessarily. It's just you get the advice of write to market. But it's like write the story that needs to be told. Write the story that's true to what you need to tell. And on the same lines of like write the story the length that it needs to be. The story in itself, the content. Don't just write to market. Like if you want to sell it and like have it, if you have like specific goals in that regard, I guess. But write your heart.
I think if you want to make like a ton of money on it and really hit like the wave of hype, you do really need to write to market. But if you really want to create something great, writing to market's just going to kind of copycat.
Yeah, and market changes. It changes so much too. Like, eventually what you wrote from your heart could eventually that market could shift, and suddenly now it's like, bam, it lines right up with that. Whereas what you for instance, Hunger Games Dystopian was really, really popular. Now it's not anymore, and stuff like that. Like, it's so volatile that it's kind of hard to always write to that market and kind of just wear yourself out.
Especially if you're not a fast writer. If it takes, like for me, it takes me 3 years to write a book. Yeah. If I write to market now, I got to figure out what the market's going to be in 3 years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And if I could do that, maybe, what else could I do?
Yeah.
And if a publisher picks it up, if you're lucky enough to get an agent go, yes, this is right on the money in terms of where the market is at the moment, and then a publisher says, yes, it is, it can still take 2 or 3 years for it to work its way through their system. And by that time, they might go, oh, that shift's happened. Actually, you can have the book back. Yeah. Which happened to me once. Yeah. Not that it was a big publisher, but full disclosure, but it was just that, I've been waiting 3 years for this, and they've taken 3 years to reject it.
Wow.
In terms of bad writing advice, another thing I'd say is that anytime you take any of the rules of writing as an absolute, and it becomes the thing that kind of pins you in and walls you in and corrals you, I think that's a problem. So, and I've probably been this person myself in the early days, but in writing groups where you have someone who's absolutely devoted to a certain rule of writing, like show don't tell. Okay, so it's a really important thing to learn. We've got to get to that point where we don't just tell the audience what's happening. It's revealed through an action of a character or a reaction of a character or dialogue. Or something dropping out of a tree, whatever it is, it's active. But at the same time, if I tried to, I'm just trying to think of an example, if I tried to show a group of characters moving 200 miles north on horseback You know, there's 15,000 pages worth of that. This horse put this foot here, and this horse put this foot there. You know, it's okay sometimes to say they traveled north 200 miles on horseback, and then get to the next point of the story. So yeah, so I think just being careful of those. Yeah.
I think there's compelling ways to tell the story too. You know,
Yes.
even if you can't show it, character dialogue and talking about the story from their perspective and things like that can be pretty interesting. I found myself just looking at like even some chapters in sci-fi books where it talks about the history of the tech or something like that, and just between chapters, and I find it pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I think in that case, like the voice of like your narrator really has to be very good.
Mhm.
And a lot of debut authors, the issue isn't necessarily that they're telling and not showing. It's that their narrator is just them. And like if it's just you telling the reader like about the history of the world, then that sucks. Nobody wants to read that. Also putting it at the beginning of the book is probably like the worst place for it. But if you have it like after they're already invested in the world, like make them want to know first, like tell them about their characters, get them involved in the plot. And then after that, it's like a great time to have like a good narratively framed like info dump. And
then they don't notice that they're reading that because they're hooked.
Exactly. But your narrator should be like someone. They should have like a voice that's not just like the author. Like what is it? The Passage, I think is what that book is called, that weird vampire book.
Oh yeah, that's Passage. Justin
Excellent narrative framing. Very weird book.
So good.
He does a good job of that though. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good example.
Yeah, like his narrative framing is just perfect. Like he could tell everything in the story and it would probably still be engaging because of the voice he chose for his narrator versus if it's like just you talking, it sucks. So that's, I think, a big problem. Like when people talk about info dumps in books, it's not necessarily that it's telling and not showing. It's perfectly fine to tell a lot of stuff in your book. You just have to do it right. And debut authors don't seem to know how to do it right.
Yeah, and this is again where we need ruthless beta readers and editors who say, yeah, that little paragraph there, Pete, or that 2 pages is really interesting to you because you spent 3 months developing that part of your world building. To me, not so much. Can you cut it? Do we need it? Can you, as you say, can you delay that? Can you put it somewhere else?
Yeah, that's basically what Mark did with my first chapter when he first like read it. He was one of my first beta readers for Starlight Jewel. Was he was just like, you just like throw half this first chapter in the trash. Like, just don't include any of this. And I was like, okay, that works. I'll do that. And I put it in my little recycle bin that I tell myself I'll go back to later, and then I didn't. It just works it out.
Usually how it goes. It's there though, but it's there.
Yeah, it's there.
It also helped you flesh the characters out a little bit before you get to the better starting point, right?
Yeah.
Although I would definitely still start it completely differently if I could go back in time, because the first quarter of the book still makes everyone think it's like just a Cinderella retelling, and and then by the time they get to the end of the book, they know it's definitely not a Cinderella retelling and it's not a romantasy.
I think that's part of the fun, though. That's part of the fun of it when you're reading it. Like,
that's what I thought while writing it.
Yeah, it was a strange character though, where like when you read about Axley, it was like, well, there's something that's not Cinderella at all about her that she's not telling anybody, and we're gonna find that out. So it was weird to see her then go into the Cinderella style world for a while and be like, what's going on here?
Yeah. When I was writing it, I thought like, oh, how fun it'll be to surprise my writers by making them think this way and then like completely turning it on its head and making it horrible. And what I didn't realize was that I was going to hook a bunch of romantasy readers in that first quarter, and then they were going to get to the halfway point and be like, where am I at?
Yeah.
What happened to my romantasy? And then the epic fantasy readers would start the book, think it was a romantasy, and then like think it was a Cinderella retelling and be like, I'm completely uninterested in this. I thought it was dark epic fantasy. And then they DNF. So like the epic fantasy readers DNF before it gets to the epic fantasy, and the romantasy readers DNF after they realize it's an epic fantasy. So unfortunate way to start a book. Don't do that. There's good surprises and there are bad surprises. That's a bad surprise. If you didn't know.
But that's I guess going back to the right to market advice, like you didn't write to market, but it was a really good and interesting book because you didn't write to market. But people that are looking for readers that are looking for books that are written to market aren't going to read your book and like it. They want their cookie cutter romantasy or their cookie cutter epic fantasy. And the thing that you made is unique and they're not going to like that.
Yeah, I definitely didn't write to market because I didn't write it to publish it. I didn't know I was going to publish it because it just seemed like hot garbage. I still like to say I'm a terrible writer, but I'm a good editor. So I saved it from the garbage bin.
And we're glad you did.
Yeah, you did it.
Thank you. Yeah, but it's definitely advice I would give myself is don't do that. Just do something else, anything. There's lots of fun things you can do that aren't that.
Okay, and here's one that was suggested to us in our Discord. What is the favorite world building fact about your world that will likely never be actually shown or included in your books? And I'm happy to start that off. So in Scars of Magic, my world is broken up into giant craters, each with their own ecosystem and stuff like that. Now, I never mention it in any of the books, but each crater has its own kind of dome over it, which maintains that ecosystem, the weather, everything, and maintains that separateness between the craters, or tracts as they're called. But one effect of this is that there are no birds because they can't migrate, and they kind of all died in whatever happened to set up that situation. And so the entire book I wrote, and I had to be very careful not to include any feathers. So, feather quills for pens, stuff like that. You just can't have that. And I had to think about all these other little aspects, which like references to, birds, which come up in natural sayings and speech. I had to cut all of that out. But I never explicitly really say that there are no birds, at least not yet. So, and I don't think I will.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
What to think about. I wouldn't even think of that. Like you say things like, "Oh, birds of a feather," or "to kill two birds with a stone." Like all the things we say, right? Sorry, I cut out.
It is. I definitely feel like that would be hard to avoid for me because I use lots of bird phrases, as the crow flies, and I mean, there's so many different types of birds in the bird phrases. You couldn't just type in bird to in the Finder to find it all. You've got a bunch of other bird related words.
There's a lot of animal comparisons too. And if you're writing a fantasy world without the standard animals, they don't make any sense.
Yeah. That's actually really tough. Yeah.
That's one of the things I do in my world is I go with just what I think might be familiar to people, even if my inspiration is something that isn't. So the basilisks are actually based off of the black shuck, but nobody knows what the black shuck is. So I just Kylie does, but most people don't know what the black shuck is. So it was easier to just call them basilisks. And, I did take some inspiration from the basilisks, but they're, you've read the second book now. They're a lot more similar to the black shuck.
There we go. There we go.
There we go.
I'll start. I don't remember what I was saying, but I do remember.
You're talking about black shuck.
Oh, black shuck.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what dropped the live stream.
Yeah,
It did.
It was scared.
Yes.
But that part is in the books, but the part of the world building that's not in the books is all the sci-fi elements, because it's obviously medieval alternate world, so you don't find out anything about the aliens. The aliens are heavily implied throughout with the meteors, but they're kind of religious about the meteors, and they call them fallen stars and stuff like that. But you don't get to find out about the parasite type aliens that create new beings with the genetic DNA and stuff. You just have to listen to me ramble about that in interviews.
I feel like I'm missing so much. I have to go read the second one because I don't know what you're talking about, but now I want to know.
The Fallen Star, there's like a one scene in the Fallen Star with the Fallen Star in book 1 where like she's like almost drunk.
Okay,
like, she gets like kind of poisoned by it.
Yeah, I think I pinged you about that, and you were like aliens, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, if you want the book to stay good, don't ask me any questions about it because I will talk about it for a while.
I love spoilers. I'm like, tell me everything, and I'll still read it and love it. And I have all the nitty gritty, like, you know.
My memory is so bad that I never remember spoilers, so I love to get spoilers because that'll tell me if I'm going to have fun. And then by the time I'm actually reading, I don't remember. I just know, like, I went into this for a reason, so I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
I don't think Pete has gone yet.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything. I think almost, particularly for the fantasy, all the world building I'm sort of developing still. All of it's potentially up for grabs to get included in the books. So I don't know, maybe the origin of the gods in my world, because they're gods and kind of supernatural entities are shattered pieces of a bigger god, or at least that's the way they're presented. And I still 3 books in, I still haven't decided whether that is actually the reality, or whether my brain's suddenly going to take me in a different direction. So it's working for the story, but it may not be the truth, if that makes sense. Yeah.
That's
anyway.
Cool. I hear it too. I was like,
It's the cat.
I think probably for mine, I have these this 6 delegates, and they are like these people who kind of summoned this storm, and it was like there's not a whole lot of information given about this situation. Like, it is referenced, but you don't get to see some of like where they came from and how they came to this place where they because some of them aren't even from the same country, like from this country, yet they become so heavily integrated into the land and the magic. So it's, you don't see their kind of like how they came together in the world building. I guess that if that's what you mean by the question, I feel like I'm.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly what we mean. That's cool.
Okay.
Kylie. I don't know if everybody's on the screen in the same spot for me.
Yeah, you're pointing at me, actually. I'm pointing at you, El.
Oh, for me.
Cool. Wow, there's actually a lot of things. Like, I have several continents that will never probably appear in the books, such as like the Yatove. They kind of live in like the poles, and their culture and their whole people. They have these big old yak monsters and things that they rely on and stuff like that. Like, their whole culture is really fun, but no one's ever going to see them. So I have things like that, different animals and flora and fauna and stuff that, you know, they'll never be included. It's just not a part of the actual story. So
do you at least draw them?
I actually do have some old art of them somewhere. I'll have to find it. Like, I drew them, I don't know, 15 years ago. So I'll have to find it, but I have it somewhere.
I'm very envious of like just being able to like sketch things that are in your book, because I do sketch things that are in my book, but it looks bad. Yours actually look
That's
good.
Fun. Yeah. I still am debating whether the spider deer are gonna come up. The ones that I was talking to you about, the big antelope creatures that also have a sentient relationship with spiders. I was debating whether they're actually gonna appear or not.
You just got to write another series that takes place in those places so you can use
them. Yeah, I should.
I'm doing. It's like the same thing where I have different continents. You don't get to see them in this world, but I have a story coming where it's like I've already created. I've done half the work of creating this stuff. I'm just gonna like put it in this place.
Yeah.
I wrote a bunch of short stories like that in the universe that I had developed, because there were all these places I wanted to explore and characters I wanted to flesh out. And so I ended up writing a whole collection of short stories that I still have to publish. Just doing that. It's a lot of fun. I recommend writing short stories. It helps you keep very concise too with your writing.
Definitely should do.
I'm in an upcoming anthology where like I wrote a short story for the background of Henry, who is like the most everybody loves Henry, and which is bizarre. You know, I didn't expect that. I thought that people would like the main characters, but you know, they do, but everybody loves Henry. And so I wrote like how he came to be. He's also an alien, so
Yeah.
just lots of alien stuff you never see in the book.
Spoiler.
Love it.
It's not really a spoiler. You're gonna read the book and like you're gonna be like, how is he an alien the entire time?
And then you'll find out.
Yeah, like eventually you do kind of find out, but it still doesn't seem like he's an alien. He's just weird.
He definitely seemed like he had something supernatural going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that could segue into mine because you took away some of my thunder with aliens. So to give a bit of a background on my world, it's kind of like a very high tech. Imagine like New York City, 1,000 years in the future, and society didn't break down. And what would technology look like? And then it does break down, and you know, thousands of years later, portals open and humans arrive again on Earth, and they don't understand how all the technology works, and they just see all these signs of ancients left behind with their broken technology, and they can tell that the ancients are humans like them, or at least humanoid, and they don't know why. So really, with my two novels, I haven't delved into like what happened to all that. There's a little bit of kind of hints that maybe the previous humans that were there ascended somehow, and they don't know how, or why or anything like that. But one of the things that's kind of cool, and they get to know a little bit about with some of the, you know, bad guys they fight, especially at the end of the Dark Art of Redemption, is they fight somebody that's a Starborn, and they don't find it out at the time. I want to explore it a little bit more, but it turns out that the Starborn is actually an alien that was born in a star in a different solar system somewhere, and has come to that world and mucked with it for some reason. So that's something I really haven't shared much. I have a short story written about it that maybe I'll publish one day. But you know, the readers that have read my book so far are just like, oh, that's a pretty cool epic fantasy adventure with a lot of battles and stuff. But you know, knowing that there's like otherworldly alien involvement in it is definitely not known at this point.
Yeah, you can comp my book. I've got the Starkin and the Starkindled alien people.
Okay. Yeah, we could maybe we'll have a tie-in.
Yeah. An anthology.
Yeah, we could have a Star anthology.
Short stories are so much more challenging. I've been doing like I wrote one before, and now I'm writing the second one that I've ever done, and I'm like, I actually don't have a clue how to do this. I do. I just feel like I don't, because they're so different how you have to like condense everything into this short little thing, and the ideas are like, you know, you're running more with concepts and ideas versus like a full fleshed out story that you're delving into like emotional impact of character, and it's different.
Well, also for sci-fi fantasy, writing a short story and also doing the world building exposition at the same time and staying in 10,000 words is really challenging.
Oh, you get 10,000 words? I get 5.
Yeah, well, technically short stories are 10,000. I wouldn't say I wrote 22 short stories after I finished my second novel, and I wouldn't say I was under 10,000 for all of them. But if I had to give people writing advice now, I'd say start with short stories. You're going to be a much tighter writer when you get to writing a novel.
Short stories are really good to learn the craft. Now, you say short stories are tough with fantasy, but with these books, they're all short stories set in the same world, but in a kind of like episodes, I would guess you would say. But I did have that challenge where it's like, how much world building can I cram into the story and yet keep the story actually engaging and interesting for the reader? Because no one wants to read world building, just, you know, like the Silmarillion is amazing, but I will never read that again in my life because it's just the most boring book in the world. I can admire it from a distance. Yeah. So, short stories are great if you want to learn how to write. I would say everyone should start there rather than with novels. Because if you can't write a short story, you probably won't be able to make it through a novel and keep the reader's interest the entire way.
Yeah, I also did a serialized short. I didn't realize your book was short stories. And I tried to publish it on, what was that thing that Amazon had that they discontinued? It was
Vella?
Yeah.
Was it Vella?
Yeah, Vella.
I think it was.
Yeah, I published like the first few episodes of the serialized short story on there, and like there was just no way to advertise it. Like no one could even see it. Nobody had Vella. Like when I was trying to advertise it on Twitter and Threads, like just nobody. They were
Yeah,
like,
that
"Oh,
was
I
a
don't
flop.
have it." So it was really difficult. So now it's just like unpublished. It's just like waiting on my computer for nothing. But I think it was really good practice. And I would also advise, if you're going to try to start writing short stories and you're struggling, just write something completely ridiculous first. Like my serialized short stories were just about like a redneck magic user who works at the Cracker Barrel, but I was afraid of copyright stuff, so I didn't call it Cracker Barrel. I called it like the biscuit bin or something. I actually asked Cracker Barrel on Twitter, but they never answered me on if it was okay.
There's some social media person that got that, and they're like, I don't know what to say.
Refer that to legal.
Yeah, but just write something ridiculous, and that helps kind of take the pressure off, because it is really hard to write short stories. And then after I did that, and then I wrote the Munch story, I was like, okay, I've got this down. I can do it. And so I like volunteered to be in like 3 anthologies. And then I realized I did not have it. I did not have it at all. It's still really hard. So I had to drop out of 2 of them.
You all second the silly short stories. The first short story I wrote when I started going into the short story tangent was the 2 kind of funny mercenaries from my novels before they were in the novels, and how they started as mercenaries protecting a cheese caravan. And that's it just got really, really silly. But it was a blast, all right.
It's important to have fun.
Yes.
Well, brilliant. I've got a whole bunch of other questions, but I feel like we should keep them for another stream. And ideally, we can get some of our UK writers in. I know it's like midnight or 1 a.m. or something over there at the moment. It's hard to do the international thing, but no, it's been really good talking to everyone and hearing about all your different books and stuff. I'll make sure to list them in the final published recording as well on YouTube, and that way readers can find them nice and easily.
Thanks for running this, Stephen.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stephen.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked without too many hitches.
Jake trying to jump out the window the entire time.
Drinking your coffee.
No, awesome. Well, have a great morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are.
Yep.
Cheers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice
Have a
talking
good
to
one.
everyone.